We have some breaking news coming in from the very top of the world. In a move that has absolutely stunned global leaders, the Trump administration just announced a mysterious framework deal for Greenland. Now, this isn't just about buying an island anymore. We're talking about securing what some insiders are calling total access to a geopolitical and mineral gold mine. So let's break down what this Arctic gambit is really all about.
So I think the question on everyone's mind is, what exactly is this deal? I mean, is this some kind of diplomatic masterstroke that secures American interests for the next generation? Or is it an ice-cold bluff that could shatter alliances and maybe even ignite a new Cold War right there in the Arctic? To figure that out, we've got to look at how this whole thing kicked off.
To really understand how we got to this point, you have to look at the absolute whirlwind of events that happened back in January of 2026. A super high-stakes crisis that brought Europe and the US right to the brink was suddenly, and kind of mysteriously, just resolved.
What's just staggering here is the speed. I mean, look at this. It all started in early January. Trump's back on his push for Greenland. Denmark, of course, calls it absurd. So the US hits back, threatening these crippling 25% tariffs on key European allies. The EU gets its own retaliatory bazooka ready. A trade war looked totally inevitable. But then, on January 21st, Trump meets with the chief of NATO at Davos. And just 24 hours later, the tariffs were gone, canceled. And in their place, we get this mysterious framework for a future deal.
Trump himself, he sounded triumphant but was incredibly vague about the whole thing. He called it a long-term, forever deal that gave the U.S. everything we wanted. But what does everything actually mean? The specific details? They're still completely locked away in a black box.
All right, so let's try to pry open that black box. To really understand what's at stake here, we have to separate the hard facts we know from all the speculation that's swirling around.
And here's the thing. What we know for sure is worryingly little. Okay, the U.S. gains a military edge, NATO boosts its Arctic presence, and the deal focuses on minerals and security. But the list of unknowns? It's staggering. Was Greenland even in the room for these talks? Is this a binding treaty or just a handshake? And what about those whispers of total access? It all points to something way more ambitious than just a simple security pact.
And this is a really crucial distinction to make. The U.S. has had a military base in Greenland for decades. That's not new. But this new framework, it isn't about maintaining the status quo. The whispers suggest the U.S. is pushing for something completely unprecedented. Small, sovereign U.S. enclaves. Now think about that. We're talking about tiny pockets of American territory on Greenlandic soil under full U.S. control.
So now we get to the core of it. Why this obsession with Greenland? Well, it really comes down to two enormous strategic prizes: military dominance and just unimaginable mineral wealth. It's a fortress and a fortune.
The number one military goal is what's being called the Golden Dome. Just imagine a state-of-the-art missile defense shield with its radars based in Greenland. It would be perfectly positioned to track the newest hypersonic missiles coming over the North Pole from Russia, China, or North Korea. For North America, that would be an absolute defensive game-changer.
But believe it or not, the military prize is only half the story. As one magazine put it, this is about securing the war president's Silver Hoard. Because buried under all that ice in Greenland are vast, vast reserves of silver, uranium, and most importantly, rare earth elements, the very building blocks of all our modern technology.
And why does that matter so much? Well, this one number says it all: 90%. Right now, China controls roughly 90% of the entire world's supply of these rare earth elements. We're talking about the materials inside everything from the phone in your pocket to an F-35 fighter jet. So securing a new source in Greenland, it wouldn't just challenge that monopoly, it would fundamentally rewrite the global balance of power.
As you can imagine, an announcement this big sent immediate shockwaves across the globe. And it created this really complex mix of relief, deep suspicion, and just outright anger. Arguably, the most important voices are the ones coming from Denmark and Greenland itself. And while Danish leaders expressed relief that a tariff war was avoided, there's also this deep, deep unease. Greenlandic leaders and politicians like Aja Chemnitz-Larsen are furious, demanding a seat at the table. They're declaring that no deal can be made about their future without them. The EU, for its part, has paused its retaliatory tariffs, but they remain highly skeptical. Meanwhile, Russia and China, who both have their own pretty significant Arctic ambitions, like China's polar Silk Road, are reportedly fuming.
They see this American move as a direct challenge to their claims and their influence in this rapidly melting region.
So, with all these competing interests clashing, where does this all go from here? This framework has basically opened up several possible futures for Greenland and the Arctic. Let's explore 5 of the most likely scenarios.
Okay, first up, the full deal. The US gets its bases, its mineral rights, and the Golden Dome gets built. Second, total collapse. Denmark or Greenland just vetoes the agreement, and that tariff war reignites. Third, a compromise, shared zones. The US gets its military enclaves, but nothing more. Fourth, a rival counter. China and Russia escalate their own Arctic plans, creating a tense new standoff. And finally, number 5, the Inuit veto. Local opposition in Greenland blocks large-scale mining over environmental concerns, shifting the whole focus to a green future instead.
So we are at a truly pivotal moment. This mysterious framework has changed the entire game in the Arctic, but the final outcome is far from certain. Is Trump's gambit a strategic masterstroke that secures American dominance for the 21st century? Or is it just a reckless bluff built on a foundation of ice that's melting faster every single day? What happens next won't just decide the future of Greenland, it's going to define the new great game at the top of the world.